First game, Mo, Bears and Lions. Voice crack there for me. It's been a voice crack of a season for the Bears. And I'm selling high in Detroit, buying low on Chicago. Maybe not so much a buy low spot with the Bears, but I'll dig into why I kind of see it as one in a second. How do you view this Detroit team on the surface? Just curious your perspective on the Lions, one of the best teams in the NFC, and still have an outside shot at getting that number 1 seed in the conference come the playoffs.
I think probably just morphing into kind of the team I thought they would be overall. Just a secondary that I wasn't expecting to get that many stops, and they got pretty much flattened by the Chargers last week. But an offense that I think you can have confidence in. So I would say just overall kind of a good offense, mediocre defense team that maybe I'm thinking you can bet some overs on. It's just a team that maybe you don't trust as much in the playoffs just due to the quarterback play, though. But at the same time, the NFC, unless the 49ers are really clicking on all cylinders, you can't really say anyone's that scary if you buy into what the numbers and the advanced metrics are saying about the Eagles, which is that they're just a very good team and not a dominant one. So would I be completely stunned if the Lions made the Super Bowl? I don't think I could say I would be.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, I wouldn't be stunned if the Lions lose this game straight up. Now, I bet the Bears +9 yesterday on Wednesday as we're recording this on Thursday afternoon. Line is down to 7.5. I would still play Chicago above the key number of a touchdown. And as you mentioned with this Lions secondary, obviously losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Emmanuel Mosley. Offensively, not much to complain about. 8th most EPA per play, expected points added in the NFL, but allowing or ranking number 19 in the NFL in dropback success rate allowed. If you think about the quarterbacks that they've allowed over 20 points to, Lamar Jackson, and that was a terrible spot for Jared Goff on the road. Justin Herbert, you mentioned that Chargers game last week. 24 points to Bryce Young at the Panthers, albeit in a blowout, and 20 points to the Packers. And despite leading that game pretty comfortably at halftime, and even though the Packers made a bit of a push in the second half, still dominating for almost 4 quarters, full game. So the Bears getting Justin Fields back, or seemingly getting Fields back from that dislocated thumb. And Fields ranks below average, bottom 10 actually, when you look at some of the metrics like adjusted EPA per play and drop back success rate. But his turnover-worthy play rate is 4.2 percentage points lower than Tyson Bagent. And I broke that down in my NFL betting column this week over at thelines.com. Fields also has an above average completion percentage over expected, CPOE, and he's going to have the best offensive line that he's ever had in his short tenure with the Bears. Bears rank top 6 in pass block win rate, and you may not think that that's a big variable in this game, but then you factor in that the Lions have the top 10 or a top 10 pressure rate across the league. Both teams play at a pretty slow pace, so I think that kind of favors the dog, especially when you're getting over a touchdown, even though you kind of made the point, generally speaking, that maybe you look to overs with this Lions team just because of how efficient and explosive, how many explosive plays this Lions offense can generate. And then also with the Bears defense, they've been much more disruptive since getting Montez Sweat. Not a ton of sacks last week against Carolina, or actually they may have had 3. Maybe the week before they didn't have a ton of sacks, but almost 10 quarterback pressures last week against Carolina. And also the Bears have the worst turnover differential across the NFL. So maybe getting some positive luck with the notion that the positive addition that Montez Sweat can provide some playmaking and havoc on that defensive line. So I really like the Bears getting over a touchdown again, more so selling high on Detroit here. What do you make of this game, Mo, and the line?
Yeah, you got a good number, so I guess you can be happy. I personally would lean a little more the other way. I'm surprised that this line has gotten where it's gotten. This line is telling us that the Lions are only like 6 points better than the Bears. That seems kind of crazy. I know that neither one of these teams can basically stop anyone from passing the ball, but like I said, when we previously talked about this game, I don't have any idea if the Lions are going to lean into it that much, so we'll see what they decide to do on offense. I don't know. The Bears have just a team that just kind of feels like they built their team backwards a little bit. You know, they're good at all the wrong parts of football. They stop the run. Their offense is great at running the ball. I've been impressed with their offensive line in recent weeks. I think they're doing a great job blocking. They're going to have to in this spot because I think that's probably my biggest concern on their end, aside from maybe the secondary, is just the sack issues. Justin Fields has always been a high sack quarterback, and how the Bears do creating pockets for Fields is probably going to be big. Just the way that he takes the sacks, I don't know, man. This is just one of those spots where you may be able to overcome it against, you know, the opposition, the source of opposition they've been playing against, which their schedule has been pretty much laughable. But against the Lions, I mean, they are not going to really be able to get behind the 8 ball here and put him in obvious passing situations, I don't think. So I just expect them to create a few negative plays on the Lions defense, and I'm guessing it's going to be enough to win this game. And I don't know. I don't trust their secondary, though, so it's hard for me to lay a big number. I would feel pretty good teasing the Lions, but that's about it.
You mentioned secondary play, maybe less so with the Bears. Jalen Johnson has been one of the best coverage corners in the NFL, so I'm curious to see how the matchup with Amon-Ra St. Brown goes. And also, yeah, on paper, the Lions have the matchup advantage, especially on the offensive side of the ball against below-average Bears defense, despite, like I mentioned, Johnson and what he means to that secondary. Kyler Gordon, below average, not much else to really like there. Eddie Jackson has taken a step back over the last couple of years after that Pro Bowl season. But I am curious also about this potentially being a letdown spot for Detroit after that grueling, emotional win against the Chargers, just back and forth. So couple that with Fields coming back and, like you said, this line secondary being exploitable. The matchup maybe being negated if the Bears' offensive line plays up to par, or at least they have this season. So I like the Bears getting over a touchdown, but I get your points.